Alrighty, guys. Sorry about that. Now we're on the other side. We're live. We were having some good conversation. We have a very special guest on the Buccaneers tonight. The crew is back from Tampa. Cody and I were there. A couple of others of us were there. It was an incredible time at the game. They had a big win over Miami. We'll get into that a little bit to start the show, and then we'll kind of depict this upcoming Thursday night football game. And we got a very good guest to do so, a man who's going to come and explain a lot about the nitty gritty statistics, things a lot of people overlook, such as DVOA and whatnot, in terms of when looking into defenses and that side of things. We got Ken Grant here to talk some football, one of the biggest Bucs fan favorites, I would say, on Twitter. Honestly, Ken's one of those guys who a lot of people view pretty prominent in Bucs Twitter community and Tampa sports Twitter community in general. So we're very excited to have him on, and we're joined alongside Cody G as well. And we're going to have Stunna hopping in later in the show. He says he'll join at some point, but the plan is to bring you guys a good show. Without further ado, we'll bring in Ken, our great guest. Ken, how we doing tonight? Thanks for joining us. We do appreciate it.
I'm honored to be here. I appreciate the invite. I'm other than a wild busy day, I'm pretty fantastic.
Yeah, it seemed like quite the day, so we're lucky enough that we were able to get you squeezed in. Yeah, we appreciate you hopping on, even, with the Rays' tough loss yesterday. It's a new day in Tampa Bay. We got the Lightning banner drop, and then we got the Bucs Thursday.
Yeah. The Rays one still hurt. It was not to do sour grapes or anything, but playoff baseball is and always has been a bit of a crapshoot, especially with the 5-game series. And the sad truth is that once you're in the dance, anything can happen. And Tampa had absolutely raked in Fenway all season. They hit there like it was like they were born there playing like taking batting practice. And then, they went cold, and kind of the opposite with Boston, but Tampa had done a really good job against Boston. And then suddenly Kike Hernandez turned into Kike Trout.
Yeah, he had an incredible series. I honestly thought after game one, the Rays were going to just maybe, like you said, though, 5-game series, always a crapshoot.
It's always scary, especially when it's that 2-2-1. And you're on the front end of it, because all you got to do is lose one of those first two, and then now you're on the hot seat. You gotta force your way back home. And hats off to Boston. They played great ball. They pitched very well against us. They their bullpen did just enough. It was a painful one to stomach. And as people that follow the Rays, we had like an entire pitching staff worth of guys on the injury list all year, or most of the year, or on and off. And it came when it got down to it, we kind of sort of ran out of arms. At the end, we were like starting like 4 rookies. That's kind of unheard of. So,
and that's what a lot of people don't get. Rays, real quick before we move to the Bucs, but the Rays, they had so much young pitching that in the playoffs, it's going to be tough anytime you have that much prominent young pitching, even though they're that good.
Sure.
First taste of the playoffs for many.
It's a big stage to be put on, and it maybe sometimes the idea of playoff experience can be a little overemphasized or overrated. But all those guys are up against they're throwing the most innings they've ever thrown in their careers. They're still developing their secondary stuff. A lot of them are still have their 1 or 2 really good pitches. They're still working on like Rasmussen. We kind of sort of out of need turned him into a starter. And he was essentially a 2-pitch pitcher. He was just fastball slider, and the only guy I remember being successful long term as a veteran doing that was like AJ Burnett, like way back when. So these guys they're tired, they're worn out, they're in a new situation they've never been in before. It just the good news is the future's really bright. The team's loaded with young talent. The farm system is still stacked. Wander Franco is somehow only 20 years old. Randy Arozarena is still a rookie. Both catchers are going to be returning, and it's the best pair of catchers the Rays have ever had. There's an awful lot to be excited about, moving into the future. It's just, this one's going to sting for a while, especially because it was a rival and kind of a bitter one.
One thing Boston can never take from us is they're not going to have Brady or Gronk back.
Mm-hmm.
They're not going to have AB back.
I literally tweeted that last night at when they were all like celebrating. I was like, whatever, we still got Tom Brady.
And you've inspired me to say that, and that's where I was going to bring up the people could follow you at Ken Grant NFL. Is that correct?
That is correct. I am currently kind of just open and unaffiliated for the moment. So it's just, I spend the vast majority of my time on Twitter, Bucks, Rays, Bolts. That's me. I'm born and raised in Clearwater. I spent about half my life split between the Tampa Bay area and South Florida. I live, down in Miami now, but, those have been my teams forever and always will be. And for a lot of us other, Bay Area fans, we've all been through an awful lot of pain. And then these last couple of years, for the most part, have been pretty incredible. So, it's hard to really, get mad even after a tough playoff loss like that. When we've had so much success lately, so some got. I have friends that have gone their whole lives and they would kill for just like one of these championships in any of these sports. I have friends from Cleveland and Buffalo, and so in the overall, we're actually really fortunate.
Yeah, no kidding. We are, we are fortunate. So we are glad you could join us tonight. We're going to break down a lot tonight, number crunch with you, etc. So I'm looking forward to, hey, hopefully, maybe you could get resurfaced writing about the Bucs. That would be incredible. But hey, we'll appreciate your tweets for the time being. Cody, how the hell are you doing tonight? Back from the game. It was a fun game.
Yeah, I had a blast. As you know, we shut down a few bars in Tampa, and so drank all weekend, and then watched the game, and immediately drove 6 hours home yesterday at work. Rough, brutal.
Sorry.
Today not much better, but yeah, I had a blast at the. It was a fun game to see. I feel like it was close enough for long enough, and then they blew them out. We got to see a bunch of big plays, packed stadium. A lot of Miami fans there, but yeah, it was amazing time.
There always are. Yeah. I mean, and generally there always are, regardless of who the opponent is, because that's just the Bay Area. We have so many transplants. For the Philly fans from the Clearwater Phillies being down here for years and years. A lot of them moved down here. 1,000,001 New Yorkers, the Chicago fans, the Packers. It's just the territory. It's the same way down here in Miami. When I go to Dolphins games, there's maybe not so many Jets fans right at this very moment, but when I used to go to games with friends back in in the 90s and the aughts, there were tons of Jets fans, and if the Giants were ever in town or Buffalo, they packed the stadium too. It's just, the Florida is very eclectic, that's just kind of the way it is.
Tampa's amazing. I don't blame anybody for moving to Tampa. It's so much fun. The wife loves it. Awesome place.
Oh yeah. I've always loved Tampa. I always will. Always special place in my heart.
I agree. Tampa's incredible. Cody and I probably, if we played, how you play some games on the highway, like where you see something, if we played that with NFL jerseys at Tampa Stadium, we probably covered at least a third, if not half. We've seen Rams, Patriots, Lions, obviously Dolphins, Bucks, but we just seen Raiders, Cowboys. It was crazy. It's like Notre Dame jerseys were there. It was just like I don't know what it was, but there were a lot of Rams for some reason.
I mean, I'm old. I'm 40, so like I was in elementary school in Clearwater in the 80s, and I remember back then, like there was basically everything but Bucs fans, like at school, like in Clearwater, like right by the Courtney Campbell. You know, it's we had tons of Cowboys fans and Bills fans and Redskins fans and the 49er fans and basically whoever was winning that year, those T-shirts and jerseys. And everybody was afraid to ever even admit they were a Tampa fan. I used to catch hell for wearing the creamsicle shirts and stuff. I got picked on. You'd have thought I lived in like a rival city. Like I was in Chicago or something. It was just back then the team was so embarrassing that kids just couldn't like even own up to it, right? Like I had uncles, and my father was never really big into football, but he used to take me some games at the old Sombrero, and I used to play Pop Warner and stuff down there. And I had a couple of uncles that kind of like stuck with it and were just diehard Bucs fans, no matter how bad they were. So they like kind of kept me on that track even when I was a kid. But it's not that it's like a long, brutal existence. Having to wait until you're 12 or 13 before things start picking up. But it's a weird experience. It's a unique one for kids growing up in their hometown. It's the same reason the Rays fans don't like. It's the same reason the Rays don't really have like that kind of fan base yet, because the team's so new that most of the older baseball, like unless you're like anybody like under 25, like is like still like a first generation fan. Like we don't have like kids that were born and have grown up like Rays fans their whole life until like just recently. Right. Where teams like the Cubs or the Yankees, whatever, they've had generational fans where their dad's the fan, grandpa, great grandpa, it's like passed down through generations. We just the Rays don't have that yet. The Bucs are now developing it for obvious reasons.
Yeah, I mean, we're taking off one way or another. That stadium was just packed. I've seen Poppy Latte tweet that it was the most packed that he's seen Ray J, and that speaks volume because we've had a couple home games this year already. Obviously, like Ken said, Miami fans always there. Probably had something to do playing with Miami too. That it was just even that much more so lit in the Sunshine State rivalry there. But anyways, we got that big W over Miami, 45-17. I thought we were going to hang a 50 biscuit on them. Just a lot of cool stuff from that game. I even seen Kenny B. Shout out to Ken Barrett. He was, him and Stank were kidding around today saying Blaine Gabbert with the throw of the year. Although even joke or not, that could have been the throw of the year. But even our backups played good in that game. Our running game played good again. You look at Lenny F. Rojo and Gio's ground game combined. It was an effective ground game. Some injuries happened, Levante David, but nonetheless, big W. We'll start with you, Ken. What's your thoughts from the Miami Dolphins game?
But one point I'd like to jump on because he deserves it because he's caught in a lot of heat. All of our running backs have. I thought Fournette looked fantastic. And I went back and rewatched the game a couple days ago because the live experience, like when you're either there or watching it, even live from home, you don't know the result. You're following the ball with your eyes. You miss so much. You don't have a chance to really evaluate. So I usually go back and watch the games just to see what I missed. And I mean, I thought that was, outside of maybe one or two of his playoff games last year, like the best Lenny's looked, and he ran. He was decisive. his vision was better. He was making better decisions with the ball. Granted, there were some gigantic holes. The offensive line, that was the best run blocking performance they've had this season by a mile. They almost didn't look like the same team. Like they were opening up, semi-truck holes on a lot of occasions. But he looked fantastic. He caught the ball, away from his body. He was confident. He was getting out in his routes quick. He had some really big blitz pickups. As at this point, I don't see how he's just not. There's still going to be a bit of a timeshare thing going on, but I think that used to be 50-50, and I think we're going to start slide more towards like 65-35 or 70-30. I think he's the performance like that. I think he's Rojo's going to have trouble getting back on the field a lot.
And honestly, how we used Rojo Sunday, I've kind of talked with Cody about it, is how I envision to use him here on out, with Josh Wells package in most of the time, just run heavy formations in the goal line, short yardage situations, really until Lenny slips, which obviously I hope that doesn't come, and I don't see that coming the way he's been playing the last couple weeks. He's been looking as competent as ever in that backfield. Like you said, I think it's Lenny's to lose, and there's nothing wrong with having Lenny as a bell cow with Rojo as perhaps a goal line short yardage guy with the Josh Wells type package. I think almost, I could be wrong, but pretty much every time Wells came in, it seemed like Rojo was in the game pretty much. So obviously those are going to be obvious running formations, but that's pretty much all for Rojo right now. You don't want him in the pass game necessarily because his hands aren't great, although he had a nifty little catch up the sideline this week that we'll give him credit for.
He did. They had the confidence to call and run him on a wheel, which is not the kind of things that they've been doing with him lately. He did have that one amazing one against Kansas City last year that it was like, oh, maybe the light finally came on, but it was still, and it was still kind of hit or miss, and then he got injured, of course. I think they're doing their best to try to keep his confidence level up, but the fact is that that first game he comes out and you get that quick fumble on your own side to give the other team like back-to-back possessions, which is all fumbles are bad. And to me, for the most part, they are unforced errors. Like very few fumbles I ever see where I'm like, there's just nothing that could be done there. Occasionally there's like the very perfect, running backs kind of twisted, contorted, and there's just a hat right on the ball. And you just, maybe unavoidable. But for the most part, it's something that's controlled. It's a discipline. It's they call it the 5 articulations of pressure on the ball, 5 points of articulation, and then you have to keep that locked in. And Fournette, I remember going back when we added him last year, and people were all confused as why. And I was going, and I one thing I noticed was over his career, really, like 4 years or whatnot, it had been at that point. He had among the best ball security in all of football. It was something like just over 1% fumbles per touches, which is absolutely outstanding. And Bruce Arians trusts him, and a lot of veteran coaches are like that. That the one thing they can't tolerate is those unforced errors, those turnovers, those the blown sack blitz pickups that not only can lead to a sack, kill a drive, interception, anything like that, but your quarterback takes one clean to the chin, that could be the end of his season, and then everything's over. There's not many, if any, teams that are going to contend if their franchise guy goes down for the rest of the year. It's just a fact of football.
Correct.
I'm sorry. I was just going to
Go ahead.
I was just gonna say that we remember the what game was it? It was like 2 weeks ago, and Rojo had that really bad miss. That where he was like in such a hurry to get out into route, and I think part of that's in his head, that he's so worried about getting to his spot and catching the ball that he did not even like glance over to see the looping linebacker, and Brady took a sack square in the mouth, and that was as bad as the fumble was to the coaching staff, and that again, they trust Lenny more in that situation, and that's another reason that he is just probably going to see the lion's share of the work.
Captain Creamsicle weighs in before we get Cody to chime in here. But Captain Creamsicle says 80-20 Fournette is the type of runner that gets better as the game goes on. Rojo is Rojo to blame for his lack of time. Cody, I know you've been saying that. What say you?
Yeah, I agree. I like Rojo the person, seems like an awesome guy, but I'm not big on Rojo the player. I can handle like a drop pass here and there, maybe a fumble here and there, but the pass protection, man, you can't be having a 44-year-old quarterback just routinely get hit. I think Ken might have been talking about, I think there was one, maybe even two in the Patriots game where it's just one of them he went, and it's like he couldn't decide to go out on the route. The linebacker was blitzing the A gap, and he just picked the wrong side, and then like just kind of got caught. It was just such a weird looking thing. Like it was definitely his responsibility, and like he just like, I don't know. I've seen two or three. Just I think it's a confidence thing. Maybe I'm not sure. I don't know what the issue is, but to me the reward is not worth the risk at this point. Unfortunately, like it's everything. Like some drop passes, he's fumbling, giving up, and then you got Lenny playing out of the last two games. Lenny has looked amazing. So to me, there's just have Rojo be like the closer. I know Lenny needs a break here and there, but like you get a lead in the fourth quarter, put Rojo in, let him run him down, let him run him.
And you know what? That's the trend that I was going to mention that I've been picking up, especially these last, like I would say, like maybe 2-3 games. Not so much the Rams game because we weren't running late, but it seems like when Rojo is starting to get more of his carries is when we get into the second half and into the it seems almost like they're I don't know if it's intentional or not, but like Lenny's the bell cow. Gio's the guy that's, the third down guy, the guy you get in there when you want to, create a mismatch somewhere. And Rojo starts seeming to get more carries and more series once we get into the fourth quarter with the lead. And which with the ball security issues is kind of odd, but I think they just like the idea of having a fresh guy to come in there and just kind of try to bang out those 4-minute drills, and I'm fine with that. But I agree with you. I think there probably are some psychological issues going. I'm not saying like he has mental problems or anything, but I think a lot of it's in his head. His confidence is probably waning. He's you get to that situation where you're pressing because you're trying so hard to improve and to pick it up that it's it just gets in your head. He gets nervous, kind of like Brandon Lau at the plate. We get in the postseason, suddenly he can't hit a beach ball, and like how else do you explain it? I don't know. But kind of feels like the kind of same thing happening.
Yeah, sometimes players go through things and it gets in their head, and sometimes it takes them a while, if ever, to break that funk.
Yeah.
I do agree with you guys, though. The trend that it seems like, Rojo run warranted situations only, which would be like closer type role or like short yardage type role. Although Lenny has been fighting really good for short yards as well lately too. Lenny's just been doing it all, and then Gio, he's been looking better and better as well too. The more he gets accustomed with this Tampa Bay Bucs offense too. The last 2 games Gio's actually played, I think he's done pretty well as well.
Yep.
So
I thought Gio's. I mean, against the Rams, he made some plays that almost kept us in the game until the Deshaun Jackson touchdown kind of put it to where we were just perpetually 2 touchdowns behind and just weren't going to be able to get enough stops to catch up. But yeah, and then of course he ends up injured that game, and it was just like figures. He's finally finding his groove and his role, and they're finding what they're comfortable doing with him, and then that happens. But luckily it was not anything too major, and he's back on the field now, and he's looking good. He's a willing pass blocker. I won't say he's not a powerful pass blocker. We saw him get overpowered a couple times by linebackers, but he stood in there and he held his own, and he gave Brady time. He definitely didn't let him take any clean shots. So, it's, and a lot of that's important too, even just the reputation of whether or not you can block. Because, as you mentioned, you guys mentioned earlier, we started seeing Rojo in these heavier sets where Wells is coming in as the third tackle. And when teams see that, they think, well, we know they're running the ball, and which is also why I think we've seen some pretty interesting creative play action out of some of that.
Yeah.
There was one with Godwin in the Dolphins game where he was the only one that even went a route. They just ran him on a short motion across and ran him out into the flat, and the whole defense was thinking run, and boom, easy 15 yards.
yeah, that's true. Cody, go ahead.
I think Gio just now seems to be getting his groove. I think come playoff time, Gio is going to be an absolute weapon for this team in the passing game, running. I'd like to see him get more carries too, to be honest. Let's see what he can do running the ball, because he's looked good these last 2 games.
Yep, I agree. And it's kind of the reverse of that same trend, right? People see Rojo check in with the heavier personnel. They're assuming run, which, sets up well for play action. It's the opposite with Gio. When Gio comes in, we're almost always in shotgun. We're motioning him out into empty. It's, when he comes in, we're in a lot of the lighter personnel, and teams just know we're passing, which, when they're executing, that doesn't even really matter because they can't stop it anyway. But it would be nice to see Gio get some more standard carries and some more standard, maybe like 12 personnel, or just to keep the defense honest as far as what to expect on that play.
Right.
Yeah, that's 2 games in a row now that Gio's been in with the receiving touchdown as well. So I'm excited to see what he could keep adding in the element of wide receivers. So I like the way he's playing. I think our running back situation is honestly getting better as the year goes on, with Lenny F carving out the bell cow role the past couple games, Gio scoring the past couple games. Rojo, perhaps, maybe he'll learn his role now. Maybe it'll make him focus better. Captain Creamsicle says Rojo's afraid to mess up, which will cause you to mess up 100% of the time.
Exactly. Yep, exactly.
That's actually true. That's part of the mental.
I agree.
When Brandon Lau goes up in the postseason, he had 40 homers, great guy, regular season. It's in his head. He doesn't want to strike out. He doesn't want to get out. He doesn't want to screw up, and that's what's screwing him up. Rojo probably same type of thing. So
yeah, it's like you're overthinking it. You're if you're playing it. If I believe that kind of philosophically, just generally in sports, like if you're playing afraid to mess up or afraid to lose, then you're probably going to. If you're not playing with the confidence that, like, I'm going to make this play, we're going to win this game, you're going to lose ball games. And I think that's true of players too. It's when they start pressing and it gets in their head, and the same thing happens when guys gets a string of drops. It's but you drop 3 or 4 balls, in the course of a couple of weeks. Then next thing you know, it's in your head, and you're dropping simple slants that you caught all your life and never even thought. It was never even a thought in your mind that wasn't a catch, and then suddenly it's in your head.
It sucks for him. It sucks. It's a contract year for him, but I mean, it is what it is.
Using the crystal ball, I just running backs they're veterans are, for the most part, except for the elite ones, very cheap, and the ones that do come very expensive tend to be bad investments. And they're almost always so readily available. Not only are drafts usually stacked with good day 2, day 3 guys, but it's one of the easier positions to be productive as a rookie. There's just you can draft the guy, bring him in, and make him your top guy, make him a big part of your rotation. I was absolutely begging for the Bucs to draft Kylan Hill this year. I think he's just such a perfect fit for today's type of football. I've whined on Twitter about it 1,000 times. I cannot believe he fell all the way to 7th, and he's in Green Bay, and he's trapped behind at least one running back that I think he's better than. I think he's better than A.J. Dillon, and I think eventually he's going to take that spot. But, he's dynamic. He's got power. He's got hands. He runs good routes. He blocks. He's just – we made so many deliberately depth picks in this previous draft. It was just we got Joe Tryon, which was home run. If that's the only thing that we end up coming away with in this draft, I'm fine with it, because I think he's going to be a perennial Pro Bowl pass rusher, and those don't grow on trees. But there were a lot of picks that there were so many opportunities where we could have just I don't know if it was if Arians was blowing smoke when he was talking up oh Lord, I'm losing his name now, Vaughn, and about how he was picking it up and looking better.
Sneak Vaughn.
Yep, Sneak Vaughn.
And you don't want to compound a mistake by sticking with it, right? The cutting bait is, just take it on the chick cut bait and run. The same thing the kicker. I don't even want to say his name. You don't want to say, well, we took him in the second round. We got this big investment in him. We're going to look stupid if we cut him now. No, you don't. You just say, we messed up. You get rid of him. You try to get better now. That's you can't have your ego in it. I felt like they should have went and tried to draft another back, because I honestly I don't see Rojo re-signing in Tampa. I just don't think it's going to happen unless, he's got plenty of time this year. If he turns it around, starts playing like he was down the stretch last year before he got hurt, then yeah, he very well could play himself into a second contract. But as it looks right now, I don't see it happening. They got too many priorities, way too many, guys coming up for extensions, guys that are going to be hard to hold on to, an entire secondary that we're going to have to pay. And then they kicked a lot of money down kicked the can on a lot of money which is something they've basically been saving up to do exactly this. I mean, that's why you operate the way they do. Like Mike Greenberg, you save, you play careful. And then when you got the chance, you start doubling down, you start leveraging all that future capital that you've saved up, and you keep a team like this together.
Yep. Real quick here, Stunna, welcome in. We got Stunna coming in tonight. Stunna, how we doing?
Every day's great, man. How y'all?
We're good, man. We're just preparing for Eagles week, and
man.
couple nights away, 2 nights away of Thursday night football. So we'll get into that. I can't wait. Although it's going to be a short turnaround, we're a little banged up heading into that.
I didn't even realize that until Monday that it was the Thursday game, and I started seeing the commercials, and I was like, oh no.
Dude, it's coming quick. It's like one of those things where it's like when you're actually me and Cody were at the game and we're like, damn, we already played Thursday. It's like, and then you get home from vacation and it just makes the week fly by. So I got to mentally prepare myself for Buccaneers football in 48 hours. We got that, and it's a national TV slate, so we know it's not going to be easy for us by any means. As those national
It's going to be one of our
televised
toughest road games.
Correct. So we'll see. Guys, I want to talk about Levante's injury quick before we rattle in. Cody, we'll start with you. Levante, it didn't look great, but the news, knock on wood, I know we wanted to miss no time from him, but 1 week wouldn't be the worst thing in the world. Even 2 weeks, that looked a lot worse.
Yeah, it looked bad on the field. I thought it was like broken something or ACL or something. It looked really bad in the stadium, but it's a low ankle sprain, so it's not good, but a lot better than high ankle sprain. Definitely dodged a bullet there. I'm thinking, he's obviously not going to play this week, but then we got basically 10 days off after this game, so I'm hoping, and then a bye week coming up, so I don't think it's going to be, at worst, I would think after the bye week, he'll be back.
I mean, it's definitely, and I'm trying to think, because I don't even recall the last time Levante has missed a game.
Yeah, me either.
He's been one. In fact, I'm going to go ahead and give it a quick look up. But
he missed some games last year.
He's not the most vocal guy on the defense. Obviously, he's not that kind of leader. He's more the lead by example type, but I mean, he's still very much, heart and soul of the defense, and everybody on that team respects him, and there are few, if any, off-ball linebackers and especially interior off-ball linebackers in the league that are bigger playmakers than he is. I mean, he's a huge part of this defense's success, and when they're rolling and they're getting pressure and they're forcing turnovers and getting their hands on balls, I mean, he's a huge part of that.
Correct. And I think I looked it up. Last time he missed games looked like was 2018. He missed 2 games. He started 14 games, and then 2017 he missed 3. But other than that, so he missed 2 in 2014. Yeah, not too bad though across the board there. I mean, that's a lot of games started for LVD.
That's more or less Iron Man type stuff in today's day and age, where they are a lot more careful with player injuries and whatnot. It's not the old days where Ronnie Lott's just like, oh yeah, just go ahead, just cut. It's broken. Just cut it off. There's no more of that. But although Kappa did play with, did he not play like a half last year with the broken arm or
crazy?
I mean,
that was insane. And Kappa's one of those dudes who looks like he'll just play through injury. But yeah, he played with a broken or fractured arm. It was either fractured or broke, but either way, when I heard he played with that, it was like, holy crap, Kappa
he
really
played like more than a half. It was like, wow, dude. Like when I found that out, and of course, and then we find out Brady played the entire season last year with a torn meniscus in his knee.
Right.
No, MCL, no meniscus.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yes, you're right.
It was MCL. It wasn't a meniscus. A meniscus is a minor injury. MCL is a major injury.
My bad. Yep, you're absolutely correct. And that's just wild to me. Like, it's just, he plays some of the best football of his career at his age, and he's playing the whole time, not even close to 100%.
You can tell this year too, as far as just him moving in the pocket, scrambling. You can definitely, not that he didn't look amazing last year, because he obviously did, but this year you can tell a difference in him. It's insane what he's doing right now.
His footwork. I was talking about it. I mentioned it after Well, I tweeted about it while I was rewatching the game the other night, and and that's what led me to mention maybe bringing up his numbers, his DVOA and whatnot. The way he's executing right now, he looks practically like a perfect quarterback.
Yeah.
I mean, he just everything is just his footwork, his poise, his I mean, it just the speedy processes that the pre-snap reads, the way he manipulates safeties, like the precision. He's not making dangerous throws. I think I was looking the other day, and he's only thrown something like 5% of his passes into what is considered on next gen stats as tight coverage, which is like a defender within like 1 yard of the ball. Like he's just finding and throwing to open guys, and he makes it look so incredibly easy. He's just on a whole nother level right now as a quarterback, just like executing the positions. It's absolutely unbelievable.
And that's what a guy like Brady could do. Stunna, what say you about Levante David's injury? Stunna? All right, I don't know what the hell. We'll get him out of here for a minute. But Levante, Brady, these guys playing through injury, and then you got Gronk maybe coming back this week. Ken, what's your thoughts on Gronk perhaps coming back this week?
I think that's insane. The last I heard, like the injury reports that that were coming out, kind of kept escalating. Like first it was like, he's got bruised ribs, and I was like, oh, thank goodness. And then it was like, okay, we think he's got maybe a couple cracked ribs, and then it's like actually he has 4 cracked ribs and a punctured lung, and he came back out and played, and he's not even wearing a flak jacket, or. I mean that guy, and now that we're seeing, because I feel like we've seen a higher level of play from Gronk so far this year than we did last year, which kind of tells me that he was still kind of recovering from his back issues and whatnot in New England, and still getting back in football shape, and kind of finding his rhythm and whatnot. So I can only imagine the kind of stuff he was playing through when he was still up there. I mean, it was to the point where he literally just like retired, like just to not have to grind out that kind of stuff anymore. I mean, it's just, I have really bad back problems, especially this past week. I'm sitting in a computer chair with a nice new like massager thing that I just bought the other week. And compared to what he's had going on, my stuff's minor, and it feels crippling sometimes. I just can't even imagine if he's back out there playing. And if you've ever had rib injuries, I've never broken a rib. I've bruised them pretty good, and like it hurts to breathe for like a month or two. Like it's the kind of thing that's just perpetually just painful.
Yeah, Stunna, what say you about these injuries we're facing with Gronk and LVD, especially Gronk and the severity of his? But they say he's he might be playing this week.
I'd rather not see neither one. Let's just get through this game, and it's really hard to play at a Thursday away game. The Thursday away teams rarely win. So let's just get through this with the best team we can put out there, and hopefully play our best brand of football. Even when we play terrible, we usually win. So let's just get through this week. I'd rather not see either one play or suit up, honestly.
I kind of tend to agree there too. I kind of err on the side of caution. It's a long season. We should, going by the schedule, to have a really good shot at one of the top first or second seed in the playoffs. And like you said, those Thursday road games are already brutal, And I think we can beat Philly without him. And I think giving them basically that bye week to heal up, I think is probably the smarter play.
Yeah, Cody, what say you on the front about Gronk? And I'm with Stunna and Ken here. I'd lean on the side of caution. I think that we could eke by just fine. I mean, we still got Evans, Godwin, AB, and then we still have Brayton Howard who can catch passes too. So, Cody, what say you about Gronk's status heading into Thursday?
I agree with you guys. Just sit him. There's no need. I wouldn't even have him fly up there. We don't
Yeah,
need to rush
exactly.
it back.
Yeah.
We've
Don't
got
get travel.
plenty of weapons. Like obviously you want your best players, but we just put up 45 points. We could have scored 50. We were on their goal line and kneeled last week. And I know
Yeah.
it's a different team, but this is why we're so deep. Yeah, I would definitely sit him. Definitely.
Yeah, I don't see a need to rush him back and perhaps risking a longer-term injury. Personally, we're going to need him down the stretch. And I asked, I forget. I think I asked J.C. Allen, a friend of ours, works for Pewter Report. I asked him about load management this year, perhaps, and he said it's definitely going to happen more. And I think that this Gronk thing could be a classic case of more load management, maybe too. Don't rush him back. He's hurt. Hold him on a little bit. We're going to need him in that playoff run, in particular. That's going to be a key thing to look out for. So we'll see. Hopefully, we do err on the side of caution with Gronk, hold him back a little bit, hold him out a little bit, and we'll see him after the mini bye week. We'll see what happens. We do want to get into the Eagles' defense here on the Buccaneers pod, though. I know we're moving so quick on time. Time's flying by, and we got a good guy to break down the numbers in Ken here. So, Ken, it does look like the Eagles' defense is a little weighted. It seems a little better than it seems, perhaps, and numbers such as DVOA and weighted defense take that down. Could you break into a little bit of those gritty numbers such as DVOA and how that might shadow and portray defenses better than just total yardages allowed or defensive rank straight up, perhaps?
I'd love to, because I run into this, on Twitter on a daily basis. I've always, when you're not taking volume and situation and success rates and things like that into consideration, and you're just talking about raw yardage, like remember, for example, one every Bucs fans from Jameis threw for over 5,000 yards. How good would you say our passing game really was, and how much of that was us digging a 14-point hole in the first quarter and just, you end up throwing 50 balls. Vice versa, he's in New Orleans now. He's averaging less than 200 yards passing a game. But he's also as efficient, if not more efficient, than he's ever been, because he now is in a much better situation as far as having the good defense, the very reliable running game, and a lot of that stuff plays into it. So the total numbers tend to not, I call them volume stats. They tend to not tell the whole story. They don't provide context. So what stuff like the website I use, I take everything into consideration. I don't think there's any Godfather stat that just spells everything out, and you could just I try to take as big of a picture as I can when I'm analyzing and evaluating stuff. But Football Outsiders is a site that I've used for years and years, and the primary stat they're known for, or there's probably two of them really, but DVOA is the big one, and what it essentially is it takes every play, because there's for offense, for defense, for the whole team, for special teams, for quarterbacks, for running backs, tight ends, etc.
Mm-hmm.
It takes every situation all those guys have been in, throws them all kind of in a big tumbling machine, and then sees who does better with those same opportunities, right? And it spits out a percentage. For instance, I wanted to mention Brady. Like I said, he was playing practically perfectly. And he, after the Miami game, no surprise, he jumped to, he's now fourth in DVOA at 26.1%, behind only Stafford, Mahomes, and Prescott. And he is number one in DYAR, which is essentially a value stat. It's kind of like just like what kind of like big time production are you doing? It's big plays. It's you know, you're gonna see it with the biggest playmakers. That's where you know Pat Mahomes is the kind of guy that's usually like right at the top of the league constantly. It's your long passes, it's your touchdowns. It's Brady right now is number one at 591. There's only three guys in the league even over 500. If you go down to Kyler at fifth, he's all the way down to 397. So, and then like once you get past that, you're getting under 200. Josh Allen is at 198. So right now, as far as like big plays and big time production, Brady right now is almost triple Josh Allen. I mean, he's playing that well. He's only been charged with one interception because Football Outsiders does not count Hail Mary interceptions. And we all know the only other interception he had was maybe a tiny bit his fault. That screen pass was executed a bit quicker. Like it didn't really have time to set up and settle. But it was still a ball that hit Lenny in both hands and just went straight up in the air. I mean, it's not really one that I would stamp on his forehead. So he leads the league. He's second in the league in touchdowns. I mean, he's been nothing short of phenomenal. When you mentioned earlier that before we went live that the Eagles have I believe what you said, third least yards allowed.
Yeah, third in passing, 194 a game.
Passing. Well, here's the fun part. Their passing DVOA is actually 10th at minus 0.6, which puts them just a touch under league average in pass defense. So most likely, if you're to dig into that, what you're going to see is one that a whole lot of that came from that debacle against Atlanta in the first game, because we're still working with a 5-game sample size. So one major performance can really, really slant the numbers. Just like Brady, jumping up a bunch of spots just after, throwing 5 touchdowns against Miami. They're probably a pretty average secondary. I would say the biggest thing that teams period worry about when they're dealing with Philly is that defensive line. The defensive line's exceptional. Cox and Hargrave, I think, they have to be one of the better pair. I don't usually get into the whole ranking guys for the sake of bragging rights kind of thing. I think that's kind of pointless to me. Everybody wants to be able to say, no, this is better. No, that's, but whatever. Just tell me what happened. But that's got to be probably one of the 5 or 6 best pairs of defensive tackles in the league. They're a tough defense up front, especially inside. And it's Tampa's interior line looked they've looked good, pretty good all year. The run blocking wasn't so good the first couple of weeks. Last week it was phenomenal. I don't know how much of that is Miami just being really bad up front, or if that was our line just taking a big step forward, kind of like we saw them do last year, where they just, as the season went on and as they gelled, they just kept getting better. Maybe a bit of column A and column B. Philly has a tick above, maybe a tick or two above average defense with some playmakers up front. They've played a tough schedule as far as the offenses they've faced. The secondary is still is vulnerable. I still think their defensive backs are vulnerable to big plays. I think you're probably going to see them. They're going to try to play some man, but I don't think I don't know. Well, I don't know how you play man against Tampa, period. But I think there is definitely the chance for Tampa to put up, to really put up some serious passing numbers if they can protect.
Yeah.
Yeah, what say you, Cody? How do you fear the Eagles' defense overall, based on obviously they've had that big game week 1, but it was against Atlanta. Then since then the Eagles have been trending down, but then they come and they win a game on the road against Carolina this past week, which a lot of people didn't have them winning. Defense intercepts Sam Darnold a couple times. How do you fare about their defense?
I'm with Ken. It's their D line that worries me. I'll put our pass catchers up against anybody if we can protect. It's Hurts is the only one that worries me. We haven't been great on defense. We haven't been great at tackling. Like, we've got to keep him contained. I don't think we're gonna have an issue scoring. I think we might have an issue keeping them from scoring. That's the only way. Another shootout type game. That's the only thing that kind of worries me about them.
Yeah, Jalen Hurts on the ground is always a big threat, no matter who the defense is. And Bucs have been prone. I feel like we haven't. I'm trying to think. It's not like we've naturally faced a scrambling QB in a while, but I feel like when we do, it's tough. I remember a couple scrambling QBs in the past, so it'll be interesting to see what Todd
Heineke, Daniel that Daniel Jones game. Oh my goodness. I wanted to lose my mind.
Well, 4th and 6, and Danny Dimes boats his way into the end zone.
And then Matt Gay, and it's like, oh, come on, dude.
Yeah, that was the biggest debacle of 2019 for sure, and that I could remember. And that's a perfect example of why scrambling QBs do scare me. And Jalen Hurts is next level scrambling. I know Danny Dimes has sneaky good feet, but Hurts, no doubt about it, Hurts is probably, I'd say, a top 3 scrambling quarterback, maybe up there with Lamar and Kyler Murray in the game right now. I think you could make an argument that it's probably those 3 are, ones that you got to watch the most on the ground. So it'll be interesting to me what Todd Bowles whips up in terms of who is going to perhaps shadow him, or how they're going to try and bring pressure, knowing that I was watching the pregame last night for Monday Night Football, and they were talking about how the Colts DN's technique could differ how Lamar Jackson runs the ball. If he runs outside, if the Colts use swim move technique, etc. So I'll be watching, Bucs techniques on the line to see perhaps if Jalen Hurts could be limited in that sort of fashion. I am afraid of his legs, though. Stunna, we're talking about Jalen Hurts and his legs and how he can hurt us right now. What say you on the Eagles quarterback perhaps being able to be a scrambling threat against us, like Taylor Heineke and Danny Dimes and some others were in the past?
It's definitely scary. Kobe Brissett escaped the rush a lot on Sunday. Now, if he had the ability to escape and then just take off, because Hurts is going to be 1-2 reads and go. We definitely got to play with some kind of spy system. So it's, and then when you do that, you limit your coverage, you limit your rush. So they definitely have something to deal with. It's really going to be how our offense matches up with their defense.
Yeah, and shit. Sorry.
I was just going to say how we do against their secondary with our receivers. Go ahead.
Yeah, no, I just one, usually when you play against the scramblers like that, and the Bucs have it in the inside line. Well, David, maybe not. Devin White will still be out there. When you play against quarterbacks like that, it usually forces you to play a lot more zone, especially for a team like us. That most people, I think, just have the impression that Tampa is pretty much just an odd front, odd shell defense. Just 3-4 up front, cover 1 and cover 3 on the back end. But when we face teams like this, or like even a lot when we play with KC in the Super Bowl, or it kind of changes from week to week. And I think this is going to be one of those weeks where you're going to see a lot of Tampa too, probably maybe some quarters. They're going to get forced to have to play more zone than they usually do, specifically to try to limit Hurts from. Because even having Devin White out there chasing him, as a shadow, you can mix that in, but I don't know how much you want to risk doing that, because it's kind of it's your one shot, it's hit or miss, and if he gets loose, gigantic play. I was actually just looking it up. The Philadelphia is actually third in the league in rushing DVOA, and I'm going through trying to figure out how, because I don't like really anything I've seen from any of their backs. I mean, Miles Sanders is, yeesh.
Yeah, he's a beast.
Well, he can make a big play, but like he's kind of, as far as efficiency goes, he is what I call Tevin Coleman syndrome, where he just, instead of being patient and getting in the crease and cut, like he just wants to bounce everything to the edge. He's always looking just to spring it to the sideline. And that really hurts his efficiency. Every now and then he will break one. But they don't really have any efficient running backs yet. They're, third in the league in, running.
Well, they're gonna be third in the league because they're gonna be a run first offense, and then when you add in their rushing yards to get for the quarterback that other teams aren't getting, that'll put that up there.
That's exactly my point. That Hurts has actually been so effective of a scrambler, and even designed and called runs. That
right.
He's kind of propping up that entire running game. And they do have some weapons. I'm not a huge fan of Rager, but they do have some guys that can make some plays.
I did see today that Dallas Goedert might be out with COVID.
Oh, geez. That'd be a break for us, but so that would leave it.
We got to take away the number one tight end though.
Old man Ertz.
It would be Ertz, Rager, and Devontae Smith would be their big three at that point, in terms of receiving targets. Rager,
yeah, and Devontae Smith has got moves. That guy, he's a problem. He's young, he's developing. It's going to take, and their offensive line is kind of a little dreadful.
It's banged up right now pretty bad.
Every team is going to dink and dunk us. They already showed it. Philly's ain't going to come out and try to run on us. They're going to dink and dunk it. They're going to try to throw to Miles Sanders out of the back, bubble screens. That's what the Rams did. They screened us all over the place. Yeah. So they're going to screen us. They're going to try to hit the back out of the backfield. Like what Miami was doing, they were doing late checkdowns. So they would run their routes, and in the backfield would check out late, and then he'd be wide open. You know what I'm saying? And get all them yards. Mm-hmm. Because nobody's going to try to run on us. They're going to do a lot of bootlegs, a lot of quarterback. What I'm saying?
It's hilarious to me that some teams still do try to run on us, because it just, like, like we essentially have 4 nose tackles, and especially in like short yardage situations and down on the goal line, like Miami twice last week. They passed. They had a good drive. They passed right down the field. Brissett looked good, and then they get down and then they run twice, and it's just like, why? Why would you? What are you doing? And we got Sue and Golston and McClendon and Nacho all on the field at the same time. It's like, you're not blocking all those guys. Come on.
I agree. It's like we have a dynamic front, and we got so many nose tackles that can be a big threat to any run game. And our defense is just too fast to run on us. Damn it.
Yeah.
So
those linebackers with that kind of space. I mean, not many people are running away from either Levante or Devin or even Shaq for that matter.
I agree, and that even Kevin Minter is pretty. He's not a bad backup to Sport in that spot either. He's been a starter in the past. He's got some speed. So that's what, and you got guys on the edge like Shaq, JTS, JPP. Those guys ain't easy to get around when you're a running back either. So, I think it'll be interesting. Philly's approach, I think, like you guys said, a lot of bubble screens, a lot of underneath stuff to start the game. Maybe some running back wheels. I could see Miles Sanders trying to replicate some Myles Gaskin type plays and hoping for success with that out of the backfield, or Kenneth Gainwell too, perhaps. So we'll see what happens. We do have a couple more minutes left on the Buccaneers here. We're gonna try and not go past the top of the hour here. So we got about 15 minutes left to wrap up. We're gonna name our offense and defensive predictions for the game and score predictions for this coming Thursday night football game. So we'll start with Cody here first, and then we'll wrap around to Ken. We'll go to Stunna, and we'll end with me. Cody, what's your score prediction for this weekend's game, and who's one offensive guy and defensive guy in the Bucs you're looking out for?
I'm going to be watching AB again. I think it's going to be either AB or Godwin. Teams don't have 3 corners to cover all our guys, so I think most any week it's going to be either of them. Mike had a huge game last week too, but I'm looking at AB again. That dude, he looks special. Him and Brady seem to really be in sync, have chemistry right now. So week in, week out, AB, I think, is just going to be a problem. Unfortunately, I'm expecting kind of a high-scoring game, 38-31 Bucs, something like that. I think we're going to have a hard time with them. The player, I think, and I know I've named him a couple times, is Devin White. He needs to play like within the defense. Don't overrun stuff. I think they're going to have a lot of design, like quarterback sneaks, quarterback rollouts, stuff like that. So I think this week we really got to be disciplined. Don't bite too hard, and just we really need to be disciplined on defense.
Yeah, we do have to be disciplined on defense. Devin White, he's going to be going at a high rate. Jalen Hurts is going to be trying to put some moves on him out of that backfield, so it'll be interesting to see. I think that, White is a good choice. There's a lot of Bucs players you could pick, but if White starts, not that he's playing bad or awful, but he could be playing that much better. If White starts coming to fruition that much more, I think this defense could really turn the corner even more. So I'd appreciate if Devin. And what did you say your score prediction was? I'm sorry, I write them down.
I'm going with like a high score, and I'm going to say like 38-31 Bucs, something like that. I think both teams score regularly, unfortunately.
Right. 38. Yeah, I don't see the Eagles. I don't see the Bucs holding the Eagles to a low amount of points in a short rest game without Levante David on a Thursday. I mean, we're lucky that Jacoby Brissett got banged up a little bit, or to me, Miami could have put a couple more points on the board. I mean, I thought Reed Sinnett was going to keep entering that game. We kept seeing him throw the football on the sideline, Brissett limp around. So it'll be interesting to see what happens with the Eagles offense. I think they are capable of putting up points. I'll go ahead and say my predictions real quick since we're here. I think that Gronk is held out again. I'm going to start with that right off the bat. I think the Bucs win a high scoring one as well. I don't think they crack 40 this time, but I do think they they win 37-31. I'm going with. I think it's a close game. I'm only 1 point off Cody's, I know, but I think that score is honestly probably the score I would have rolled with. So I'm going with 37-31 Tampa. I just see Tampa outmanning Philly and outlasting them. Actually, you know what? Fuck it. I'm going 44-31 Tampa. I see us hanging another touchdown on him late in the game. I see us getting to that 44. Although Thursday night sometimes hard to score, you never know. But the way Tampa's been playing and riding the wave on offense, besides that New England game, which was more of a ground and pound game for us, we have been throwing. Brady has been tremendous throwing. So on offense, I'm going with. I'm gonna think Cam Brate's gonna have a breakout game. I think he's gonna have a big one. I think he knows Gronk's coming back. I think he's gonna hopefully get some targets, catch a touchdown, perhaps at some point in the game. I'm looking forward to what he could do. I'm also looking forward to see what Gio Bernard can continue doing. If Gio Bernard could score in a third straight game, that would be something to watch. And then defensively, I'm excited to see what Richard Sherman could bring to the table this time around. He keeps playing more and more. He played 98% of snaps the past 2 weeks now for the Bucs, which is key. Greg Allman has posted that. So Sherman, I know some guys are saying, "Oh, he's not playing that great," blah blah blah. Well, numbers aside, right now he's manning up. He's playing full games. Without him, this depth would be putrid. We'd be having Delaney getting burnt out there. So I know sometimes teams target Sherman here and there, but be thankful for him. I'm thinking Richard Sherman defense, Cam Brate, Gio Bernard offense, 44-31. Fire the damn cannons. Fuck it. Why not? Ken, what say you, brother?
I think I'm a little bit against trend with you guys. Well, one thing that I just caught my eye, I was digging around. You guys are talking about these scores. So I was like, you guys sounds like you're hammering the over. I want to see what the total is. It's 52.5, which with the Bucs -7. Now you go from that, and I'm looking at the public betting charts, and the 80% of the total bets, not money, but total bets from the public are on Tampa. Usually, especially in a game like a Thursday game where things tend to get ugly and sloppy because teams don't have time to prepare, especially if you're the road team. You don't have really, you have to squeeze some of your preparation time into the week before. Spend a day. That's usually what most teams do. They spend like an entire day the previous week, for that Thursday opponent just to get ahead of things. I think it's going to be a close game. I think there will be scoring. I don't necessarily foresee it being quite as high as you guys do. I think we're looking something more like maybe Tampa 27, Philly 23, something in that range. My thing is, I misspoke earlier. I said the opposite of what I meant to say. Philly they have a good offensive line, and they do some creative stuff on offense. They do a lot of the stuff that we've been seeing teams abuse us with the. There's a million different. There's the bubble screens. Some call them now screens, where it's just like it's like a quick audible at the line. Like you got man off, and the quarterback just does a quick little check and just boom. And with Jalen Reagor and I'm bad with names off the top of my head sometimes. The Devontae Smith. Those are both the kind of guys that can, do damage on plays like that. Catch those quick little balls. Hurts is probably going to hurt us on the ground on a few third downs. And generally this season, our front seven they haven't pressured as consistently as they did down the stretch last year. I think they're still really getting going. I think that's going to allow Philly to stay in the game. I still think we win as long as we don't have one of our weird meltdown games where we commit like 11 penalties and have like 3 or 4 wacky turnovers.
Right.
But I mean, I think this is a, being if it was a Sunday game, I would say Tampa by 10 or 15. But, Philly's a kind of mercurial team. We've seen them blow out the Falcons, as you guys mentioned before. We've seen them beat what appears to be a pretty legit Carolina team. They're gonna, they're gonna battle with us. Our strengths are the trenches. Their strengths are the trenches. I think the one big advantage we have is that we have, the skill position guys. But I'm not sure that we're going to be able to run the ball very well. And I don't know. I just see it as one of those games where it's, we get those weird like 3 and outs here and there, and the offense kind of stalls a little. And I think we're good enough to still close out the game and win it. But I do think it's going to be a medium scoring and a close game. I think it's going to be definitely not the kind of game we should be overlooking by any means.
Yeah, I don't think we could overlook this one. Cody and I have been talking about that in terms of their offense in particular. Ain't that right, Cody?
Yeah, I've been saying I don't know. I just feel like we're going to struggle with Philadelphia. It's just one of those teams. They got that offense their style offense gives us fits. It's just, and the defense hasn't looked good. There's no other way to say it. Our defense has not been very good this year. So short weeks, tough week to go on the road on a short week and all of a sudden magically get the defense together. So yeah, I feel like we're going to struggle.
And you're absolutely right about the DVOA. The DVOA agrees with you as far as I mentioned that a little bit earlier. So as far as the numbers matching the eye test. We're right now we're 17th overall in the DVOA. We're third against the run, which is no surprise. And by the end of the year, we'll be first. Buffalo's, like I said, has astronomical numbers. They're just above us at 40.8, and Indy's right there at 39%. I don't think either one of those hold, but in the 30s is where we've been for the last 2.5 years. So, there's all the reason in the world to expect that our run defense is going to continue to be dominant. But I think Phillies, I think they're going to do a good job handling us up front. I think in most of these games that so far this year, our pass rush has started slow. And then as we got into the second half, we started seeing more push. We started seeing, more adjustments, started seeing Bowles mixing up, some more stuff. And I hope we do continue to see that, but I would like to see some faster starts on defense as well. But yeah, I think this is going to be a tough ball game. I think it goes down to the wire. I think we are just a better team that will execute and finish the game.
Yeah. Stunna, what say you on your score prediction and player of the game?
Ooh, player of the game. I didn't get one of those.
Oh, Kent, who are you thinking before Stunna? It seems like
let's let it go and give me a second. Give me a second to ponder that. That's a good question.
All right. Well, I'll I don't know. There's too many options sometimes to pick, so
It's
it
hard.
is tough. It's as Stunna faded out, so we lost him a connection. That's okay. Fitting into the episode there. Ken, once you get your players of the name, we'll wrap up and bounce out of here.
Sounds good. Unfortunately, I cannot see some of the Football Outsider stuff went behind a paywall. You used to be able to see how teams were performing against wide receiver ones, wide receiver twos, tight ends, running backs, individually. A quick glance at Philly's defensive depth chart. Their front, their defensive line's outstanding. I think their biggest weaknesses are and Darius Slay's a good corner. They've got a couple okay safeties. I think their linebacking core is pretty weak. I think Tampa's going to kind of try to grind it and try to use the play action over the middle of the field. If Gronk was playing, I'd probably take a shot at him. I think Fournette has a shot at it, or Chris Godwin.
And who'd you say on offense, Cody?
I said AB. But I can see Godwin too.
We got AB, we got Godwin, we got I named Brait and Gio as co-captains. And
I think Brait's going to be a factor too. Again, for the aforementioned, I don't think they can cover him. That linebacking core is just there's not much there.
Yep, Stunna, what say you with your score prediction and offense and defensive player to look out for the Bucs?
31-24 Bucs, but this would definitely be like a bear trap game.
Ooh.
And go Shaq Barrett as MVP.
I like
and
that.
Look at him. I agree on offense with Godwin. Godwin's the only receiver that really ain't gone off yet because Evans and AB kind of went off last 2 weeks.
Correct. So we got Godwin twice, we got AB, and we got Gio and Brait. So we're looking forward. And then we got a cast of characters on defense as well: Shaq, Devin White, Richard Sherman. So we'll see what happens. We'll see in terms of if any of our guys step up. Last week, Cody predicted AB would step up. He flourished. We'll see if AB keeps that going. Anytime AB seems to get the ball, it just is a great play. But anyways, guys, this has been one of the longer episodes of the Buccaneers in a while, but we were happy to go this long. It was great football conversation. We got a lot of great insight, knowledge, and we learned a lot about some things that I wasn't even familiar with some of those extra stats, how Brady's a lot better than Josh Allen in some of those big plays. Ken, we thank you so much for joining us and breaking that down and digging a little deeper into not only surface stats, but picking at the grain a little bit. We do appreciate it.
Well, my pleasure. I kind of live, breathe, eat, sleep this stuff. I've been obsessed with football since I was a kid. I learn something new about it every day, and that's why I think it's such an amazing sport. It's always changing, it's always evolving. So I'm always, everybody's always looking for new ways to evaluate and analyze and find that edge. I had a wonderful time chatting with you guys. I really appreciate you having me on. I'd be thrilled to come back on any other time you'd like to have me. Go Bucs, man. Let's go get another one.
Yeah, you heard it there first. Go Bucs from both Ken and Cody. You guys could follow Ken at Ken Grant NFL. We'll have him back on for sure throughout the year. Hopefully more good times to come. Cody, Stunna, you guys got anything to close out?
No, sir. Go Bucs. Let's go win another close one. Keep it going.
Yeah, Stunna, what say you? Take us home, buddy.
Philadelphia 1979 playoffs, whoop that ass. Philadelphia 2002 on the way to the Super Bowl.
Oh,
2000, we closed down the vet. We opened up their new garbage stadium. Philly's always
link. Yes,
Philly is always going to be a rivalry, and I hope that we remember that and the boys show up and play out for their home folks, even though we had the crib. But I still think it's going to be a lot of Buccaneer red in the stands.
Yep.
It might look like Christmas, then you'll have your Philly green, you'll have your Buccaneer red, and we'll see what happens. I'm expecting some Christmas presents and excitement on Thursday night in terms of offensive production from both teams. Perhaps we'll see how this one goes. So Thursday night football, always a bit sloppy, but on behalf of Tampa Tones, the crew, Cody G, Stunna, Cats, and Bucko couldn't join us. I have a thing, Lightning guys, so, probably watching the Lightning game a little bit, but I got him on in the background. That's why my eyes keep veering left if anyone notices anything like that. So, Ken, it's been great. Cody, it's been great. Stunna, it's been great. If you're a hockey guy, go watch the damn Lightning. It's time. If not, There's some other sports on. You got college football on. You got Appalachian State against Louisiana Lafayette, and you got playoff baseball on. So go get your sports fix in. We kept you long enough. We appreciate everyone tuning in to this edition of the Buccaneers. It's Tampa
Don't
Tones,
play
Coach G.
Madden.
Don't play Madden. Yep. Don't
Yep.
play that. Don't support him. So, anyways, on behalf of all of us, thanks again, guys. Go Bucks.